Hey everyone, and thank you for joining the Left Hook with Wajahat Ali. This is an episode of Chai Talk where I invite subject matter experts who are far smarter than me to break down one big question or question in 30 minutes or less, and maybe we'll go a bit longer. And today, for the first time ever, I have my friend Michelangelo Signorile. You know him, you love him. He has a show every day, weekday, 3 p.m. live Eastern time on Sirius XM. He's been a fantastic progressive voice, and I invited him today because, folks, we're dealing with a fascist threat. We're dealing with the Trump administration that doesn't care about the rule of law. We're dealing with ICE agents that are acting like the Gestapo. We're dealing with military and National Guard being unleashed against American people. We're dealing with people who look like me being sent to detention centers. We're dealing with LGBTQ folks being erased, being treated as political footballs. Literally, parents of transgender folks are losing their rights for parents' choice. Transgender people are losing their rights state by state. Women are losing their rights. We literally, over the weekend, had Republicans sign up for this big, beautiful billionaire bill from hell, which will cut about $900 billion from Medicaid, which, if passed, and it'll pass because they have the Senate, is going to cut about 25% of our nursing homes in this country. So say goodbye to grandma and grandpa, which is going to make the energy costs rise up in every single state because they're going to kill solar energy, which, folks, is going to kill the marginalized women and children, which is going to actually take out SNAP, which is the most effective government program to combat food hunger. And that's just some of the stuff that it's going to do. And while this is happening, while this deeply unpopular bill, which has the support of only about 35% of Americans, you would think that the Democratic opposition, that the leadership, Michelangelo, would spend the weekend telling people what's in this bill, telling people that Republicans are bought out by the oligarchy, telling people that even a moderate like Lisa Murkowski is willing to sell all of you out because she got provisions and exceptions for her state of Alaska. Instead of the Democrats being united in harping about this big, beautiful bill from hell, which again, 60% of Americans dislike. Michelangelo, they spent the weekend attacking in unison Zoran Mandani and equating these slogans that he's never said and asking him to condemn statements that he's never made, piling on against him with this Islamophobic attacks and trying their best to take out the legs underneath him, even though he won the majority of votes, which includes the votes of Muslims, Arabs, young people, young Black people, Latinos. He got 43% of the vote, and thanks to Brad Lander, the Jewish American candidate in ranked choice voting, Brad Lander would have put him over the top. A Muslim and a Jew coming together to defeat a sexual predator. What a New York story, what an American story. But instead of celebrating him, the Democratic leadership is instead taking him out, which is why I framed today's conversation is we need new leadership. We need new Democratic leadership. We need fighters. I am done with Hakeem Jeffries. I'm done with Senator Schumer. Forgive me for my rant. I yield the floor to you, Michelangelo.
Well, you're 100% right. And all weekend, they did their criticisms through all of the normal channels, which nobody follows, doing a floor speech, sending out a note, sending out an email. They should be holding press conferences. They should be holding protests. They should be leading protests, right? They should be out in front of the Capitol. They should be on social media for sure. They should be attacking this bill every way that they can. And the stuff with Mamdani is just absolutely political suicide in addition to being bigotry, because this is the face of the Democratic Party. This is the new Democratic Party. This is the new base of the party. Young, energetic. But let me tell you, I mean, I live in New York and I've studied this vote. A lot of young people, yes, came out to vote, but a lot of other people of every age came out to vote, many of whom hadn't voted before, many of whom live in places that parts of this city Donald Trump won, many places where you expected Cuomo to do it. And that should be a signal to them. And the last thing they should be doing is harping on some comment that he never even made and claiming he made it, and then having to defend on every talk show, defend themselves and the Democratic Party against him, rather than actually embracing him. They all should have gotten behind him immediately. Now, maybe, we have ranked choice voting. Tomorrow is the second ranking, and we'll find out more. Maybe when it's final, they all will get behind him. But, Jerry Nadler, others did endorse
Yeah.
him. That was good. But, yeah, the leadership has not. And when asked about him, the leadership goes back to this comment he never made, and it pushes this Islamophobic rhetoric we've seen from Republicans. Where are they on that? These horrible comments from Marjorie Taylor Greene,
Oh, yeah.
from all of these horrible
Andy Ogle, Charlie
Andy
Kirk.
Ogle calling for him to be denaturalized, right? Calling for him to be arrested, equating him with terrorism. Where are their statements on that? Yes, a few have. Good. I've seen Richie Torres, I've seen others. But where is the leadership? The leadership should be getting behind him and whipping up this new base. These people are awake now. These people who didn't vote before, and the other people who organized in the base, they would be so receptive right now to that message from this leadership. And, they're going to replace the leadership. I don't know that we can replace the leadership, but they will replace the leadership. They will make it clear that this is not something that's going to fly.
And also, Zoran Mandani won the district of Hakeem Jeffries, and I
That's
think
right.
the problem, if you step back, is the problem of the oligarchy and the billionaires, right? Hakeem Jeffries, Gillibrand, Schumer, and the Republicans are perfectly fine playing old school politics, right? We'll take money from the corporations, we'll take money from APAC, and I think the reason why Zoran is so threatening, just like the reason why AOC is so threatening, is they say, no, we're going to do old school politics, we're going to do grassroots, we're going to reach out to communities, we're going to get vote by vote, right? We're going to do authentic messaging. We're going to bring people of color, and we're going to call out the billionaires. We're going to call out the 1%. Another thing that Zoran said over the weekend is, I don't think there should be billionaires. That's what he said. When asked about critique capitalism, most people, they're like, we gotcha. He critiqued capitalism, but his answer was just, he quoted Martin Luther King. He said, call it democracy or call it democratic socialism. We should have a system that is fair and
That's right.
equitable. And the establishment said, we'll get them, without realizing they're so out of touch that most people listening to it are like, yeah, that makes sense. And what they also don't realize is the majority of Americans in my lifetime, in the past year and a half, if you've seen the Gallup polls, it's fascinating. Young people in particular have been radicalized in real time against Israel because they've seen a genocide of Palestinians stream to their phones, Michelangelo. If you look at the data across the board, young people are like, I'm not down with that. Young Jews in America are saying, I'm not down with that, right? And instead of actually meeting people where they are, the Democratic establishment says, F you, you better support us or else. And I want to connect the dots. When it came to the DNC, it wasn't just Arabs and Muslims and Palestinians. It was Democratic voters saying, please stop the genocide, Biden. Please, Harris, step aside from Biden. Have some daylight. And what did Biden say? No daylight, kid. At the very least, Michelangelo, the bar was so low. The bar was so low, folks, it was in hell, that they said, have a Palestinian speaker. And you know what the DNC said? No,
Mhm.
F you. Are you going to vote for us or the guy who wants a Muslim ban? And you know what people did? They stayed at home. The YouGov poll that came out a couple of months ago said the number one reason why Democrats stayed at home, not the only reason, was due to the genocide in Gaza. It was not the only reason, but it was the main reason. She would have won by, she still would have lost. She would have lost by less. But the problem is it radicalized an entire generation and said the Democratic establishment isn't for me. And after all of that, this is what Hakeem Jeffries has done, Schumer has done, Gillibrand has done, is by, like you said, using this statement that he's never made to smear him on top of the money that APAC and ADL have sent to smear him. The fact that Andrew Cuomo in the last 2 weeks of his desperate campaign, promoted these images of him darkened with a bushier beard. Now he has credible death threats against him, Michelangelo.
That's right.
And speaking about the party, like you said,
And
if you
and
care about Mamdani, you're losing votes. They're willing to burn down the party and their own base for billionaires and APAC. And if you think that's a bold statement, how do you explain the last week, Michelangelo?
look, even on the Islamophobic attacks, we haven't seen them, say anything about any of the media bringing it up either, right? Like in these interviews with these Democratic lawmakers, they don't bring that up at all. I mean, our corporate media is a disaster too, and they're not being questioned, they're not being challenged, right? And they're you know, completely just shrinking from it. On this issue as well about the billionaires, and this is a very critical thing. In New York, first of all, there's no Jewish issue, okay? The number of Jews, the percentage of Jews, and the percentage of Jews who voted for Cuomo, voted for Mandami is probably going to come out to be about the same when all the ranked choice voting is done, which is how it is with most other groups, and he'll probably have done better, Mamdani. But the issue of the billionaires, and I think this is critical. Mamdani won. He won affluent voters more than Cuomo. Mamdani won middle class voters more than Cuomo. He won working class voters across the city, particularly in different ethnic groups. There's a difference between the billionaire class and everyone else. Most New Yorkers want to pay more money for better services, even if they have money. They will pay higher taxes. The billionaire class wants power, and they want to stop him from. I don't know what they're imagining he's going to do with regard to Wall Street, because it's kind of all mythologized too. It's not like he's going to really be able to do that much, as the mayor. Yes, he can freeze the rent. Yes, he can lobby for raising taxes. But I mean, there's a lot here that I think is rooted in their Islamophobia. They don't want to say it, the billionaire class. So they're saying it's about democratic socialism, right? They're trying to whip that up. That's not going to work either.
Nope.
That is not going to fly, not with younger people. And it didn't fly with people of all ages across the entire city.
And you know what I love about Mamdani's win in particular is that it was so New York that a mayor with a Muslim name was able to win the majority vote thanks to direct support and cross endorsement from a Jewish mayoral candidate, Brad Lander, and black mayoral candidates. And they worked together
That's
like
right.
the Avengers to take on a sexual predator. I mean, it's so New York. It's so American. And I'm so glad you mentioned that because speaking to friends in New York, and I love New York, it's like my home away from home. New Yorkers see right through the bullshit. This cultural divide that the establishment is trying to do in billionaires and APAC, right? Muslim versus Jew. They're like, nah, that cultural divide is not working. Muslims and Jews in New York see right through that bullshit. And they're like, no, we're from Mamdani because he actually listens to us. Affordable housing, making life better for everyone, right? And the word globalize the intifada, whether you like it or not, folks, I don't use it. But the reason why people have used it, it means shrugging off. It's been used for decades, which means that an occupation in Palestine, if you oppose it, you also have to oppose the genocide against the Sudanese people. You have to also uh, uh, you also have to oppose the occupation of Ukrainians by Russia. You also have to oppose racism. You also have to oppose apartheid. Right, the suffering of one group is linked. Right, justice is for everyone. And if there's injustice in against one group, then the rest of us, it's our duty to speak up because all of us have to be free. And that's what threatens, I think, the establishment against Mamdani and AOC. It's what they represent. It's what they represent. That not the fact that AOC. Look at AOC. Look at the threat of AOC. She's a representative in the House. No disrespect to her, but she's not a senator. She's not a governor, right? It's
Mhm.
what she represents, the message that she represents, the popularity. And they're like, oh my God, we have an AOC. So what do we have to do? We have to crush her. We have to make an example out of her. We have to crush the Ilhan Hummers. We have to crush the Rashida Tlaibs. We have to crush the Ayanna Presleys. Now we have to crush the Mamdanis. Because if a Mamdani can be a mayor of New York, then oh my God, maybe these people can become governors. And maybe AOC can become the president. And we'd rather have a criminal rapist. We'd rather have a person who has sexually assaulted a woman and defamed her. We'd rather have a person that was a violent insurrectionist, but is good with the billionaires than an AOC and Mamdani. And that's why I think the billionaire class is threatened. And what's so shameful is that Schumer and Jeffries and all these establishment leaders, because they're so tied to the corporate money, Michelangelo, they're incapable of evolving. They're not agile. It's been 10 years and they haven't done it, which is why I
Well,
say they're not gonna do it.
they've gone the other way on a lot of things. They're allowing the Republicans to frame the issues. What we've seen with LGBTQ rights, what we've seen with transgender people in particular, is just horrific. They've allowed Republicans to frame that. They're now moving on transgender issues themselves. They're telling their candidates not to talk about the issue. That
Yep.
is a sure fire way to make journalists ask the question because they know that you're afraid. They're on the defensive on all of this. Trump has eviscerated LGBTQ rights, either directly in these executive orders, certainly in this second term. Biden undid a lot of it in the first term, but also through this horrific Supreme Court. Now, policing what is taught in school, making sure that queer people are invisible, right? All of this, Democrats, where were they? Where were they on that Supreme Court decision? Where are they on the Supreme Court decisions on gender affirming care? Nothing. This is what the base as well is very much concerned about: equality and human rights and dignity. Mamdani, again, ran on $65,000 pledge for gender affirming care, $65 million pledge, I should say, gender affirming care for transgender youth. LGBTQ rights, something at the forefront. He focused on
March,
the
right, with
issues.
Attorney General Letitia James.
Yeah, he he focused on the issues that connected everybody. Freeze the rent, wages, increase them. Affordability, but he spoke about all of these other issues to the various communities instead of running from them. And that's why it gets back to this
Right.
statement too, right? He didn't run away from his position on Gaza. He didn't run away from all of that. He didn't try to finesse it. He says it and moves on and talks about the other issues. People can have differences of opinion about all these things, but I think they respect um, genuineness and authenticity. They can
Yep.
respect you if you don't have the same position on something. If there's another issue that is incredibly important to them, like the rent and the prices and housing, then they're with you.
Yeah, authenticity and passion trump experience and age, as we've clearly seen, right? People want sincerity, they want fighters. And what Zoran has done masterfully is, I'm so glad you mentioned, he stayed consistent on issues of Palestinian liberation. He stayed consistent on transgender rights. He doesn't care about the polls. He goes, like me or not like me, this is based on principle. This is what I'm going to stand on. Even when they try to do the gotcha with globalize the intifada, he says, not language that I use. The language that I use is about liberty and freedom for everyone. And proof of that, he says, you have to be for Palestinian rights. You have to speak out against anti-Semitism. You have to be for worker rights. And also, folks, you have to be for transgender folks who are being erased. What fascists do is they come after everyone. And what I try to warn people, because so many people in my community, Muslim communities, even the majority of Muslims and Arabs voted for Donald Trump. You know this, Michelangelo. I've been warning about this for 4 years. I'm right here in Virginia. I saw the seeds of the anti-CRT, anti-DI, anti-transgender agenda, right? It started with parental choice, right? It started with the Glenn Youngkin. And I said, you got all these activists right here in Loudoun County, Republican activists, grassroots groups, politicians. They're going to use this as a laboratory to see if it works, and then it's going to go mainstream. I know this as a Muslim because they did this with Sharia law. They've done this against the welfare queen. They do this against the undocumented. They're going to go against transgender people. They first went against black folks, but that didn't work as much, banning books by Toni Morrison. But you know what worked? The schools are going to make your kids transgender. The school is going to make your kids gay. And I can't tell you, I've been saying for 4 years, so many otherwise sane, intelligent suburban voters who vote for Democrats, their reptilian brain was played by Republicans. Democrats didn't talk about it. Democrats didn't have a counter message. What happened? It went mainstream. And Elon Musk and Republicans spent more than $215 million attacking transgender people in the 2024 election. And that bad faith manufactured boogeyman was used to sway votes, just like it was in 2010 and 2012 against Sharia, just like it's been against gay people and gay marriage in 2004, just like against it was Willie Horton in 1988. The same manufactured fear, right? It's just a reboot, Michelangelo. And what did Democrats do? Did they invite a transgender speaker to the DNC? No. No Palestinian speaker to the DNC. Instead, they're spending $20 million trying to speak to men, and they're trying to find the liberal Joe Rogan and Alyssa Slotkin, the centrist Michigan senator. Her war plan, folks, was we're going to have a war on the weak and the woke. That's an exact quote. The weak and the woke, and we're going to attract the goddamn alpha energy of the Detroit Lions head coach. Has it worked? Throwing transgender
No.
people under the bus, people of color under the bus, undocumented immigrants under the bus. Zoran said, no, I'm going to lead by values. It's going to be everyone or no one. And people said, yes, damn it. He says, no, I'm going to go full woke because my base, the Democratic base, is guess what? Black. The Democratic shadow is black, right? But the Democrats want to run away from the shadow. Sorry for my rant. Let me just rant away for one more minute, then I'm going to give it to you. And what I kept saying as a practicing Muslim, and why I stood up for transgender folks, is because, folks, you don't have to agree on everything. Just like LGBTQ community members came out against the Muslim ban, if I went to the LGBTQ members and the activists in 2017 and said, do you support Islam and Sharia and the Prophet Muhammad? Most of them they say no. Then I would say, then why are you here? And you know why they said? Because we know that this is unjust and Muslims have rights and they're coming after Muslims. They're going to come after all of us. What happened? They went after transgender rights. People didn't say anything. Then who do they come after? Undocumented. Then who do they come after, Michelangelo? Legal immigrants. Now who is ICE coming after? Students. Anyone who looks brown. Now who are they coming after? Harvard, Columbia University. Now who are they going after? Tom Tillis. Fascists go after everyone. And I want Democrats to stand up and fight. Instead, they've thrown the transgender community under the bus. Sorry for my rant. I yield the floor back to you.
Well, to this point about Republicans using these issues, right? It's not always clear that it works or that it's worth the millions and millions, billions of dollars they've used every time they do this. In a close election, everything works, everything counts. So, it's close. Who knows what happened in 2024, how much it worked. But we just saw in Omaha a mayor's race as well, not just in New York, in Omaha, a Democrat win while the Republican, an incumbent who was tied to Trump, and she was trying to distance herself now from Trump, used all the anti-transgender stuff, used
Yep.
all that in that mayor's race. It did not work because not only did the Democrat stand up and talk about equality, but the Democrat talked about the basic issues that people care about
Right.
that are, affecting their lives every day, and stood up to Donald Trump, used Trump against her as well, and spoke out in a way that made people say, I want to get behind a fighter. It is about being a fighter. Again, that was a waste of the Republicans' money. I think at other times it's been a waste, but no matter whether it works or not in terms of the politics, what it does do is create hate and violence. What
Yep.
it does do is put people in danger. What it does do is make people feel emboldened to tell their neighbor, I don't like you, to use a slur against their neighbor. We've looked at now polling, right? We've been 10 years of marriage equality. We've looked at polling now after 10 years. Majority of Americans support it in huge numbers, except in the Republican Party. It's
Huh.
dropped by 10 points. What is that about? Did people change their minds, or do they now feel like they can voice it, right? Do they now feel like, oh, it's okay to be against same-sex marriage? Before they were saying, okay, maybe I have to accept this. Maybe that's how the world is changing. Now somebody is giving them the message, no, we don't have to accept this. We don't have to accept black people. We don't have to accept Muslims. We don't have to accept Jews. We don't, and all this bullshit they use, the way they use anti-Semitism is abhorrent, right? The way they keep
As a
using
cudgel.
anti-Semitism as a cudgel. And, they are themselves, the stuff today that they claimed Harvard is
Bullshit.
guilty of. Some of the images they said were on campus, those images are on social media posts of Donald Trump's supporters.
Yep.
Those kinds of images about Jews, that kind of anti-Semitism, Donald Trump has himself and his campaign has shared, right? They've
Oh, how
shared
about
those
the
people's views.
doubles the Hiles of Elon Musk?
Exactly, exactly. So, I mean, that to me is the worst part about allowing this hate to be perpetrated by the Republican Party. You then allow it to be accepted by others. You can't ignore it. You have to stand up for communities. And if you want people to get out and get other people to vote, you've got to make them be able to make the case that the Democratic Party is worth fighting on behalf of.
And they don't fight because they don't fight based on values. When I listen to Democratic leaders, it sounds like these robots, these fembots that were released by Austin Powers and given a corporate consultant script, right? And they see on every issue, is it safe to talk about this? Just tell me what you believe in. What are you willing to fight for, regardless if you win or lose, right? Like I always tell people, I love sports. You want your sports team to try their best. Even if they lose, you say, you know what? You gave it your all and you're authentic and true to yourself. Do you actually believe that immigrants have a right to be here? Then fight for them. Say abolish ICE. Why do you even support ICE? It didn't exist in the 20th century. It was created during the war on terror and now is terrorizing Americans, like we warned about. Why are you not supporting transgender rights? If you say you're for parents' choice, then why are you denying parents the choice to actually give their transgender kids, actual treatment? That's thanks to the Supreme Court ruling now that parents have lost the choice on how they actually can treat and deal with their children who want gender affirming care,
Exactly.
right? Why are you for erasing LGBTQ people just because some people are afraid of transgender, right? Why don't you message on behalf of transgender people? I'll give you an example. When it came to undocumented immigration, undocumented immigrants, Donald Trump, that was his strong spot. So you know what Democrats did? Instead of actually say, why immigrants are good for America, they ran away from immigrants. More Democrats actually passed the Lake and Riley Act. Democrats in the House and Senate helped Republicans pass the Lake and Riley Act that actually goes after undocumented immigrants simply who are charged with nonviolent offenses. Instead, then you had a pivot like Chris Van Hollen, the senator, who said, I'm not going to leave El Salvador until I get proof of life of Kilmar Abrego Garcia. It was in the news, folks, for 2 weeks, and Americans were like, oh my God, the Trump administration is straight up kidnapping and deporting
Exactly.
legal immigrants. This is wrong. And what happened within 2 weeks? Negative 20. Now Donald Trump is underwater on all these issues because you had some person, Chris Van Hollen, fight and message. And speaking about fighting and messaging for LGBTQ people, people who say it's impossible to do, that you can't be a radical like Zoran Mandani or a democratic socialist. Michelangelo, tell them about Andy Bashir.
Governor Andy Bashir in Kentucky, conservative state, red state, Democrat. He not only defended LGBTQ people, vetoed bills, wouldn't sign them, attacking transgender people, attacking gender affirming care, attacking civil rights. He not only vetoed them, but he leaned into it and talked about it as part of his faith. Talked about it, and Zoran has done this too, right? Talked about his faith and his parents, what they taught him in terms of helping people, right? But Andy Bashir, he talked about it as part of his Christian faith, that he's there to help people and that it's about family. It's about making sure people are not hurt. That is a way to connect people. And a lot of people don't agree with him. Obviously, it's Kentucky, it's a red state, but they look at him and they say he's authentic. He believes in something. And as long as he's doing X, Y, and Z for me, I am going to trust him on that.
And also, what they say is that's a Christian white man, and his message of comparing care and compassion. I could get behind it. I might not agree with gay marriage. I might not agree with some of the gay lifestyle, but you know what? Yeah, it's a good point that we should take care of everyone, right? And everyone should feel safe, and we shouldn't have hate. Yeah, I could get behind that. Okay, and you know what? Even if I disagree with him, like you said, he cares about the rest of us, and he sounds sincere and authentic. People like Governor Walz, white man in Minnesota. Another example of running a very progressive campaign, progressive talking points, even though with a narrow majority in Minnesota, which is purplish blue, right? But he didn't hide from it, right? And instead he leaned into it. Very beloved Michelangelo. So the Democrats
Absolutely.
actually have examples of straight white Christian men in bluish, purplish, red states who have not thrown the most marginalized communities under the bus, which at this point are transgender communities, poor people, the undocumented, legal brown
And
immigrants,
and and let me
or
just
women.
say
And we're
say
women.
something more about what we're seeing with immigrants and undocumented people, because you talked about what Senator Chris Van Hollen did, which was amazing, right? Went down there, went to El Salvador, took up the case of Kilmar Abrego Garcia, took it up and defended due process and made sure that that story stayed in the news. We are seeing every day on social media stories of families ripped apart, of mothers taking from their children, of fathers beaten up in front of their sons who are serving in the military, right?
Three
I
sons.
mean, I can go on and on with all of these stories. every one of these stories, a Democratic politician should be having a press conference with those people, should be
Every
holding those
single
people up.
story.
Those stories, it's not just the right thing to do. Those stories are ammunition to use against the Republicans, just as the case of Kilma Abrego Garcia. It took Donald Trump's numbers down, as you said. Um, we're not seeing these stories in the media. I mean, we do here and there, but most of them I see on social media. There's just too many of them, I guess, for media thinking they can cover. These stories should be what Democrats are pointing out about the brutality of Donald Trump. People don't want to be part of that brutality.
And also the reason why they don't, and let's be honest, Michelangelo, is when it comes to crime and when it comes to immigration, the reason why so many Democrats have punted on it is they don't want to be seen weak on crime, right? So they actually appropriate Republican language, Republican talking points, and they think if we support the Republicans on the Lake and Riley Act, if we support the Republicans and are tough on crime, maybe, just maybe, Republicans will like us. It still doesn't work. They still see you as weak. Instead, why not lean in and support immigrants? Why not reframe the
Exactly.
conversation? Why not create a new message? Why not say, why do you support terrorizing LA and communities and immigrants? Why are you in support of violent insurrectionists, but you're against those immigrants who pick our fruits and pick our vegetables and do all the jobs that no one else wants to do? Why are you against this community that without this community, the American economy would fall apart? Why are you for against a community that commits less crimes than people born in America, that actually does something that Donald Trump doesn't do, pays its taxes, that actually helps the economy, whereas Donald Trump is destroying the economy? And why are you for terrorizing grandmas and grandpas and deporting citizens? They deported 70 citizens. They deported a citizen kid who was suffering from stage 4 cancer. Should be in the news nonstop. They deported a citizen kid who survived cancer with their parents. They literally went after this father, it's completely out of the news, right? Who has 3 children who are serving in the Marines, right? They kidnapped Mahmoud Khalil. They kidnapped Rumeza Ozturk for co-writing an op-ed. They kidnapped Badr Suri Khan. When people see this, they are outraged. They're horrified. But Democrats, even now, Michelangelo, refuse to say abolish ICE. Why the F should we friggin' support ICE as they're terrorizing our communities? Can someone please say why? Why can't a Democrat say we should abolish this? And let me tell you why. Let me tell you why we should abolish this. None of them have come out.
None of them.
Have come out and said this right now. Sorry.
No, 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 no. They've talked about the masks. They've talked about the, hiding of their identity. That itself should be a much bigger story. That should be a lawsuit. That should be the entire Democratic caucus stopping everything and saying we do not want masked people who are not identifying themselves in our cities, in our small towns, on our farms, going to plants and raiding people. Then when Pam Bondi was asked about it, she made believe she didn't know about it. That should have been there should have been outrage among those senators that she claims she didn't know about it. There's all this sort of they're still respecting these people when they get no respect back. They just get anger
Masochism.
and arrogant attitudes.
Yeah, what has been gained? Bending the knee to Donald Trump and Republicans, whether it's in corporate media, whether it's the law firms, whether it's corporations. What has it gained you? To quote the Born Identity, look at what they make you give. CBS is trying to buy off Donald Trump. ABC News that settled when they shouldn't have settled, right? All the law firms, look at what they make you give. And he still comes after you. Columbia University, right? Harvard learned from
Exactly.
Columbia. If it was Harvard first, they would have caved, but they're like, oh my God, Columbia literally destroyed its own reputation, threw its reputation under the bus, has thrown its students under the bus, and it's still not enough for Republicans, and they're laughing at you. They're using the cudgel of
Exactly.
anti-Semitism to destroy universities, critics, free speech,
Exactly.
and any type of dissent that they don't like. They're even going after Republicans, investigating Chris Krebs, because
That's
he,
right.
as a Republican, said, I did my job. I found no fraud. Donald Trump lost the election, and Donald Trump signed an executive order saying, I'm going to investigate you for treason. So if they're going after Republicans, if they wanted to kill Mike Pence, what are they going to do to you and me? I'm a straight brown man, son of Pakistani immigrants, a practicing Muslim, and you're a gay man. What are they going to do to the rest of us, Michelangelo?
Exactly.
And what are they going to do to
Exactly.
Democrats? And it's been 10 years, Michelangelo. 10 years, which is why I think after 10 years, I'm talking about the establishment folks, I'm talking about leaders, not everyone. They are not built for this fight. They are not made for this moment.
100%.
If I'm wrong, show me evidence. I would love to be
100%.
proven right.
100%. Now, you bring this right back to we need new leadership, which is where we started. And that is what we have to work toward. And you've gotten me all riled up because I have to go do a show now.
Oh, sorry.
So,
When do I have you for do I have you for 2 minutes? Listen, this is Harry Enton, forecaster on CNN. To think that you and me aren't crazy. I'm going to quote his post. Right, he's a pollster. Mamdani's win is a political earthquake that should have the Democratic establishment nationally running scared. It comes as 62% of Dems are fed up with their party leaders and want them replaced. Also, a lot more Democrats are liberal than once were in 1994, 55% to 25%.
there it is. That's the base. Those are the people. That is what is powering people like Mamdani. That is what is powering the mayoral candidate in Omaha. All of these Democrats who overperformed in every election we've seen, people are paying attention. They are angry and they want more leadership. That's why the leadership question may come later. Like it may be delayed. The people are going to rise up. We're going to win back the House. We're going to win back the Senate. I really hope, I think now with Tom Tillis, there's really a great shot. And then there has to be, a reckoning for the
Absolutely.
leadership. Yeah,
Yeah,
absolutely.
and I feel like, folks, listen, people say, me and Michelangelo, we've never said both sides are the same. I've never said that. And even despite my critics of Biden, I still said you have to vote for Kamala Harris. Both sides are not the same. However, if Democrats are refusing to evolve and take on the oligarchy, if they're refusing to take on the hate mongers, if they're sounding like Republican light, then what good are they doing for the rest of us, for workers, for immigrants, for LGBTQ people, for Muslims, right? And it is our right to demand better leadership. They serve us, not the other way around. And if you are not useful to me as a Democrat or a Republican or as an elected official, then you are a tool. I always say this to people. Elected officials are tools. If they're helping the people, support them. If they're not, you replace them with tools that actually help you. So I hope those people who listen to me, they understand that I don't bend the knee to Democrats or Republicans, and I also don't do both sides. But if this Democratic leadership is not willing to fight for the rest of us, I don't need them. I want a culling
Agreed.
then of the leadership, and I want fighters to emerge. And I believe, like you, Michelangelo, it'll be up to the people. The people have to pressure these Democrats, the corporations, the media. And guess what, folks? They listen, they bend the knee. The LA Dodgers, the reason why they gave $1 million to immigrant families is because of the people. The reason why they
That's
kicked
right.
out ICE from the Dodger Stadium, not because of the kindness of the heart, because of the grassroots leadership that demanded it. The reason why corporations are moving away from all these law firms who bent the knee to Donald Trump is because the people have said, we're not going to support you. The reason why Target and others are rethinking their anti-DII policy is the people said, we're going to punish you with our dollar. So
That's right.
support the people who are speaking out for everyone. Injustice against one is injustice against all. If you don't believe me, look how they went after the transgender, then the undocumented, then immigrants, and now after everyone. Fascists come for everyone, folks. And this is why our futures are intertwined. Our struggles are intertwined, folks. It is, dare I say, intersectional, which is why you have to be woke. And even if you don't disagree, even if you disagree with Muslims or undocumented folks or LGBTQ folks on certain issues, you have to realize that Michelangelo's safety and security means that you will also be safe and secure, and your neighbor who are a person of color will be secure. It's all of us. All of our children have to have a chance at safety and security. It's
Mhm.
either all of us or none of us. That's how it works in
Absolutely.
democracy, folks. That's how it works. Michelangelo, before I let you go, shamelessly promote yourself.
Uh, my show is on every weekday at 3 p.m. Eastern time. You're going to join me on the show. You've come on, of course, many times before. You're going to come on tomorrow, I think,
Tomorrow.
3 p.m. Eastern time on Sirius XM Progress 127. Also, of course, my Substack, the Signorile Report, where a lot of people are listening here as well. And yeah, that's it.
And finally, I'll say, because Michelangelo has to go, there's 800 people who are watching. We're going to have this up on our Substack in an hour or two. So I strongly recommend you listen. And also, this is the Left Hook. I've kept everything for free, not because I'm stupid, but because I'm a fool. I believe people should be informed, especially as we're fighting fascists. So if you can, like Blanche Dubois, depend on the kindness of strangers, give a few bucks. If you can, at least subscribe to myself and Michelangelo. Spread the good word and the good content. Take care of yourselves, folks. Be kind, be empathetic, and please, oh, please don't be a fascist. Michelangelo, see you tomorrow, buddy.
See you tomorrow.
Later.